So there are a lot of different ways depending on the type of release that you're shooting. We'll start with, since I have one right now, the wrist strap style release with an index trigger. This is the most popular style of release for hunting. You'll see a lot of competitive shooters using them, but out there on the market, this is probably the most popular styles, a wrist strap style release. It's activated by squeezing that trigger, and then there's an internal mechanism that lets that hook go. Sometimes they have gator jaws on them. There's hundreds of styles of different types, but they hook inside your loop, and then they're activated just by squeezing the trigger. A really consistent anchor point is to take your knuckle, your first knuckle there, and put it against the back of your jawbone, under your ear. You don't want to go over, just under your ear against the back of the jawbone. Find a spot back there that's repeatable and consistent. I'll show you what that looks like at full draw. So the weight of the bow is entirely on the wrist strap of the release. I'm putting my knuckle against the back of my jawbone. My nose is lightly touching the string, and you can see that the bowstring's not touching anywhere on my face. And then I'll come in and put my finger on the trigger to execute the shot. As far as how you make it fire, there are a lot of different ways. But for me, the easiest way to fire the shot is I draw back, I'll put some tension on the release, and then I'll just expand, I'll just push and pull. Like I'm keeping tension here on the back end while I'm driving my pin, my sight pin, straight into the target. So I'm kind of expanding.
Okay.
And then as I build up enough tension, it'll fire. And the shot fires while I'm aiming. But while I'm drawing back, I keep my finger behind the trigger and I press against it backwards. There's no safety on these.
Right.
So you're just pressing against it backwards. So yeah, I keep it pressed against it backwards. That's my safety. And as I draw back, I anchor and I put my finger on the trigger.
Where do you want your finger to be placed? Do you want that trigger like on the middle joint line, on the index, on the actual finger?
That's really personal preference. For me, I like mine on the pad of my finger. I like it right there on the tip. I see a lot of archers very successfully hooking deep. And that's, like I said, that's going to be a really personal preference.
Okay.
I shoot a lot of firearms competitively as well, and that's just where my finger naturally goes on the triggers, right there on the pad.
Okay. All right.
And you know, if that's feels like too much of a sense, you feel too much movement on that, you might want to go in between.
Okay.
A lot of times people's releases are too long for them, and they feel like they're squeezing it, but they're just pushing down on it because there's nothing hooked around it. And so make sure that you're actually pulling straight back. Whatever tension you're applying to make that release fire, make sure that you're pulling it straight that way and not down.
Okay.
And that will help the release fire a lot.
Something tell you on the release that you can measure on this side to tell you how long this should be to know it's the right length? Or is it just
most releases are adjustable, and it's personal preference. Yeah, you'll just have to play with it.
Okay.
This particular trigger is adjustable here on the strap, but also the trigger itself is adjustable.
Oh, so, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I've got an inch of travel here on this Trigger Tech trigger that you can really fine tune where it lines up.
Oh, I like that. Okay, that's great.
So another style of release are the handheld. They're a thumb butt activated. So they have a similar internal mechanism as a wrist strap release, but instead of squeezing them with your finger, you squeeze them with your thumb. And I use the same process on both styles. Like I'll draw back, I'll preload the thumb, and then I'll drive my pin into the target to make the shot fire. So with a thumb button, another way of activating the shot is just through pure squeeze, where you just lay your thumb on the trigger and just build up tension until it fires. But just remember to keep tension on there. Like I said, cutting a rope while it's tight will give you the cleanest, most perfect shot, and it'll put you into a perfect follow through. So you don't even have to think about follow through if you're activating it correctly. Between my first and middle finger, there's a gap there. I'll put that right against my jaw, the line on my jawbone. So as I draw back, I'm going to anchor somewhere along that line, depending on where your draw length is. And there's a lot of other factors, but that's a really good starting point right there. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm just anchored up to where the split between my first and middle finger are on the rail of my jawbone. My nose is lightly on the string, and I'm going to center up the peep and squeeze through the shot. Just like that. So another type of release that I use often is a hinge style release. So instead of having a button or a trigger that you pull, the entire handle is the trigger, and it's activated by changing the angle of the release. So as I rotate, there's a little click in there that lets me know when I'm close, and then I just keep that steady tension until the shot fires. So you'll see this style of release is really popular with target competitive shooters. If you're ever struggling with aiming and executing a good shot with a trigger style release, your personality might align really well with a hinge, or often called a back tension style release.
Dang, I have to take group for shooting 3 different releases.